We move on to the independent group, and I'm happy to ask Deputy Catherine Connolly to share her time with Deputy Joan
Deputy Collins, 5 and 5, Gurmagad. And I want to thank Sinn Féin, and I want to thank Raise the Roof for this very comprehensive motion. It sets out the actual facts, and then it agrees that we need a radical shift in housing policy. And that's exactly what we need, because it's the policy of this government and the previous governments that have led to the emergency that we find ourselves in that hasn't been declared an emergency. And when we go on in this motion to agree a number of points, there are 14 points, and at the end we talk about holding a referendum to enshrine the right to housing in the Constitution. It's the most basic step we should be taking. And I've said repeatedly, without security of tenure, without a home, people, residents and citizens cannot participate actively in democracy. And more than ever, that's what we need. And so I'm here, the Minister has gone, I know he's busy, and he put up a spirited defence. But what he was trying to defend is indefensible. We're now on our 4th minister since I was first elected in February 16. We've had Deputy Minister Kelly at the time, followed by Minister Coveney, followed by Owen Murphy, and now himself. And what hasn't changed at all, other than the documents and the glossy cover, is the policy. And so we'll keep going with the policy that the market will provide, and when it doesn't, we'll use taxpayers to make it provide at an enormous cost, absence of security of tenure, and a dire emergency. And so I'm so tired listening to my own voice in relation to this. I'm going to quote from other documents, Minister. So when the Minister was here, he said, and he accused the opposition that we were against home ownership. And his policy is to encourage home ownership with the various schemes that have been found utterly defective, but my time is limited. But let me quote from the ESRI, which is an interesting document, July 2022. And they note that there's been a notable decline in home ownership and a rise in the proportion of households in private rental accommodation. It goes on to talk about Ireland has experienced a marked drop in home ownership rates, and it goes on to give the specific figures, and they're quite substantial. Now that fully contradicts what the Minister is saying, that his policies has led to home ownership, when that's clearly not. Buried in, well, I wouldn't say buried, but inside in that report is a very interesting statistic. They talk about poverty later on if you don't own your own home, and the increase in poverty, particularly among women. But on page 8, they point out research that was carried out across 10 member states, including Ireland, and they found that neither generous pensions nor high ownership rates had the strongest poverty reducing potential. And what had lower poverty rates and older age were most strongly associated with the provision of social housing for older people, which is an interesting fact in the middle of it from research. Let me look again at the Simon. I have a little more time than I had earlier on, and the Simon report, and directly consequent on your policies, Galway City has absolutely no properties available, very few for rent, and absolutely none in the county or the city within the HAP criteria. Even if you take in the increase in the discretion, nothing available. This was carried out in June, just over a 3-day. It's called a snapshot, and it's their 37th, I think, report. And worse the situation has got. This is Simon, with no axe to grind, actually setting out the facts and figures for Galway City, Galway County, and throughout the whole country. They're the facts. So any sensible, intelligent government, maybe they don't go together, I don't know, would say the policies aren't working. We're going to have to look at the policies and have a rethink, and that's not happening. The point was made about NAMA. I think NAMA have been a huge part of the problem in the remit they were given, and then praised for carrying out that remit, which artificially, along with HAP and all of the other payments that were enshrined into law by Labour and Fine Gael back in 2014, the HAP payment in particular, have absolutely ensured that the prices of houses and rent have remained astronomically high and just simply not possible for anyone. The latest is that the young teachers trying to get jobs in Dublin can't stay in Dublin because there's no accommodation. And yet we persist with silly personal comments across the floor as if we're standing here just for nothing, when all of the time we're doing it on behalf of our constituents on the ground, and we can't even get a meeting with the local authority. We have to do it through email. Thank you.